20-year-old student midwife, Joy Morgan, has been missing for 2 months. She was last seen at an event at her church. Her family are desperate for information.
In December 2018, Joy Morgan, a bright 19-year-old student with a radiant future, mysteriously vanished. She had everything to live for, friends, dreams, and a supportive community. But then, without warning, she was gone. No calls, no sightings, just silence. As days turned into weeks, her disappearance baffled investigators and shattered those who knew her. Whispers of betrayal began to swirl, raising chilling questions. Could someone she trusted be behind it all? What really happened to Joy Morgan?
My mum or either me would message her, phone her, and if we didn't get through, like a couple of days later or a day later, she'll get back to us, or even the same day. And you know, since the 26th of December last year, no one's seen her.
Prepare yourself for a story filled with twists, secrets, and heartbreaking revelations. Joy Morgan was born on February 12, 1998, in South London. She grew up in a family that faced tough times financially. Her mother, Carol, worked extremely hard as a care worker, often putting in 12 to 15-hour shifts just to make ends meet.
Please return my daughter. She never did you no wrong. Can we have our light back, please? As I was allowed to give birth to her, and I always wished that my daughter would be the one burying me, but as it has to be me, please return her to us, please.
But financial struggles weren't the only hardships Joy's family endured. In 2006, Joy's uncle passed away from cancer. Then, in 2012, her stepfather also lost his life to the same disease. Just 2 years later, in 2014, another devastating blow hit the family. Joy's father took his own life. These losses deeply affected Joy, shaping her emotions and outlook on life. Despite all these challenges, Joy kept going. She was determined to create a better future for herself. Eventually, she enrolled at the University of Hertfordshire to study midwifery. She wanted to help others and find her own way forward after such a difficult childhood. After losing her father, Joy went through a period of searching. She started looking for meaning in her life, which led her to explore different religious groups online. That's when she came across Israel United in Christ, IUIC, a religious organization that quickly became a big part of her life.
Oh, Joy was lovely as a kid. She was so funny and energetic and always smiling and running around, and just she was lovely, really nice.
IUIC is led by Bishop Nathaniel, a controversial figure. The group has a strict structure where men hold all the authority and women are expected to submit to them. Women are called sisters and are required to address all male members as sir. This system heavily influenced Joy's thinking and started to isolate her from her family. At first, Joy was drawn to the group's teachings. She found comfort in the sense of community they offered. In fact, just 2 weeks before she disappeared, Joy called IUIC the best family I've ever had in a video posted online. Joy officially joined the UK branch of IUIC in January 2016. The branch was based in Ilford, London.
How long have you been with IUIC?
Okay, so coming up to January, I would have been congregating for 3 years. So all praises to the Most High.
All praises.
As her commitment to the church grew, her relationship with her family began to break down. Her family noticed a change in her behavior and attitudes, especially toward her younger, mixed-race sister. Joy's comments became deeply troubling. At one point, she even referred to her sister as a demon of white men, reflecting some of the extreme views she had adopted from IUIC.
Okay, so IUIC is my family and like the best family that I've ever had. That's it, really.
Yeah.
This created a rift between Joy and her loved ones, pushing her further away from them. The last time anyone saw Joy Morgan alive was on December 26, 2018. She had attended a church event in Ilford that evening, and everything seemed normal. But just 2 days later, on December 28th, something strange happened. Her phone number was removed from a church group chat. At the time, no one seemed to notice this odd action or connect it to anything suspicious. For weeks, nobody reported Joy missing, not even her church members. It wasn't until February 7th, 2019, over a month later, that her flatmates raised the alarm. They hadn't seen Joy since Christmas and realized something wasn't right. The long delay in reporting her absence raised serious concerns and prompted the police to launch a full investigation. Joy's disappearance was especially hard on her mother. Each day felt like an eternity as she waited for news. She couldn't bear the thought that her daughter might be gone forever.
They were there for her when we couldn't be there for her. Well, I couldn't be there for her because I put her out at 18 because I said enough. I'm not having every day. Every single day is about the same thing. It's about hate.
Joy's family did everything they could to find her. They appeared on local and national news, pleading for information and asking anyone with details to come forward. But there were no solid leads. Investigators found no signs that Joy had planned to leave the church or her life behind. The fact that her phone number was removed from the group chat made things even more suspicious.
And they didn't come up to nobody, they didn't, tell anybody, they just kept it to themselves. So it's a bit strange to me, in my opinion.
Police believed someone else might have used her phone to do it, suggesting foul play. When Joy was reported missing, the investigation quickly ramped up. The police had a tough job ahead of them. Joy split her time between Hatfield, where she studied midwifery at the University of Hertfordshire, and London, where she attended church.
It was Christmas time. Joy don't celebrate Christmas, so there was no worry. Then afterwards I was still calling, and I'm a worrier anyway, so I was just like...
Because it was the holiday season, people were travelling or staying with family, which made it harder to track her movements. Some of Joy's flatmates hadn't seen her for days, but they assumed she had left for the holidays. It wasn't until much later that they realised something was wrong.
She did say her phone wasn't working properly. She'd get back to me, so I know she's always busy with her placement, or she's busy with uni, so Joy will get back to me at some point.
On February 9th, 2019, just 2 days after Joy was officially reported missing, police made an arrest. They detained a 40-year-old man from London, suspecting he might be involved in her disappearance. The arrest happened on the side of the road, and officers read him his rights before questioning him.
You've been arrested on suspicion of the Joy Morgan.
Even though the arrest seemed like a breakthrough, it didn't lead to immediate answers.
I have to caution you, as I did do at the roadside, you do not have to say anything that may harm your defence. Listen, if you not mention when questioned something which you later rely on in court, anything you do say may be given in evidence. Okay?
I just want to know.
The man was released on bail while the investigation continued. The police assured the public that they were following every possible lead, but they didn't have enough evidence to charge anyone at that point. The search for Joy was becoming more urgent by the day. Her family and friends held on to hope, but the mystery of her disappearance only deepened. For now, all they could do was wait and hope that the truth would eventually come to light.
Our family's broken.
I can't believe this is what we're looking for Joy. I just wanted to say this is a dream. And she knocks at the door. Just right now, it'd be great.
On February 11th, 2019, Joy Morgan had been missing for nearly 3 weeks, and Hertfordshire police made a public appeal for help. They wanted the public to come forward with any information that could help them find the young woman. The police were clear they needed all the help they could get, and were hoping someone might have seen something that could lead them to Joy. They described Joy as a slim, black woman, around 5 feet 5 inches tall, with black afro-style hair, often covered by a scarf, and glasses. She was known as a focused and determined student with a bright future ahead of her.
And I'll phone you back if I could speak about my daughter, please. Thank you very much.
Do you feel the church has been helpful?
No, they have not.
The police emphasised that Joy had everything going for her, and it was unusual for her to simply disappear without a trace. On February 15th, police held a press conference where they spoke directly to the public, repeating their request for any leads or information. They acknowledged how frustrating it was that every lead so far had turned out to be a dead end. Despite the difficulties, they assured everyone that they were working tirelessly and exploring every possible avenue to find Joy. Later that day, the investigation took a more focused direction. The police sent out a specialised search unit known as Pulsar to scour areas around Hooks Cross and the A602 near Stevenage. They were looking for any signs or clues, hoping to piece together the mystery of what had happened to Joy. The search expanded, covering more ground with the hope that even the smallest clue could make a difference.
Every day it's, have we found something, have we got anything positive, and every day you're asking, and every day those search teams go out, and every day it's okay, we'll try again tomorrow. Of course that gets exhausted after a while, in that you run out of the areas that your information tells you to look, and then you're a needle in a haystack territory.
Although Joy's phone had been turned off, police believed it might still be connected to a nearby network which could provide valuable information. In addition, they released a video showing Joy at a party on December 24, 2018, at the International United Church. This was the last known sighting of her, and the police hoped someone would recognize something in the footage or remember more details about the event.
Brothers and sisters of the Israelite Church, you say you're her family, you say that she's your sister. I ask again, where is your sister? Bring her home. That's all. That's all. Just bring her home.
The police also shared images of a distinctive red Honda, which had a black roof and bonnet. Joy often travelled in this car, which belonged to a family member who had been giving her rides. The hope was that someone might have seen the car around the time Joy went missing, and it could help authorities find a lead or a new direction for the investigation.
She obviously doesn't have access to that because you have her keys in your car.
As the days dragged on without answers, the emotional toll on Joy's family became clear. On February 20th, 2019, her mother Carol and her sister Dion made a tearful public appeal for help.
So, out of the three of them, if you couldn't get me on the phone, you could have sent a letter.
So you think they could have easily found your address?
They could have easily found my address.
In their heartfelt plea, they begged for any information that could bring their daughter and sister home. Their words were filled with deep anguish, as only a mother and sister could express, and the raw emotion in their voices showed how much they were suffering.
Our family's broken.
I can't believe this is what we're looking for, Joy. I just wanted to say this is a dream. And she knocks at the door. Just right now, it'd be great. She knocks on this door and it'd just be all over. That's all, because I can't believe. I really can't believe we're here. Because now this shouldn't be.
Carol and Dion talked about the pain of not knowing where Joy was or what had happened to her. Their desperation was palpable, and their public plea was a cry for anyone who might know something, anything that could help them find Joy.
Joy, if you're out there, babies, and you don't have to worry about upsetting me or anyone, all we want you to do is come forward, go to the police and talk to a police officer, phone them and talk to them. If you don't want to talk to me, that's fine, you can just talk to the police officers. All I want to know, babies, is that you're alive and well,
Despite the overwhelming fear and uncertainty, the family refused to give up. They held on to the hope that someone out there had seen something that could lead them to the truth. Even as the investigation seemed to stall, Joy's family continued to search for answers. The toll on them was heavy, but their determination to find Joy remained unwavering. Every day that passed without answers was agonizing, but they were committed to keeping up the search for as long as it took. The investigation took a significant turn when a man named Israel, later identified as Shofar El Israel, was linked to Joy's disappearance.
A man has been jailed for at least 17 years for murdering a student midwife from Hertfordshire, whose body has never been found.
On the 5th of August, Shofar El Israel was convicted of the murder of Joy Morgan, sentenced to life with a minimum of 17 years in prison.
Israel's real name was Ajibola Shogbamimu, and he had been questioned in connection with another missing person case, Morgan's disappearance. A search of his car uncovered Morgan's house keys, raising immediate suspicions. Israel claimed that on the day Morgan disappeared, he had driven her back to her home in Hatfield. However, his story quickly fell apart. The inconsistencies in his statement raised serious doubts about his involvement in Morgan's disappearance. On February 26, 2019, Israel was rearrested and charged with Morgan's murder. During questioning, Israel initially claimed that he had spent 2 nights alone with Morgan at his flat in Cricklewood, but he later admitted that he had lied. He explained that he was afraid of breaking church rules that prohibited women from being alone with men outside of marriage.
I'm hoping to find out what really happened, because up until now it's all confusing. They haven't even told us. All they're saying is that Joy was missing from this day, and all of this is a big gap. What happened? How did it come to this? How did she get involved with this man? I want to know it all. I feel like my sister got robbed.
But his explanation didn't hold up, and investigators began to believe there was more to the story than he was willing to admit. The police uncovered multiple inconsistencies in Israel's story, leading them to explore the circumstances surrounding Morgan's disappearance more deeply.
I dropped her off on the 26th because my wife was pregnant. And at first, yes, on that day when I dropped her off, she was supposed to be spending the night with my wife because she normally sleeps with her.
The investigation continued, and more pieces of the puzzle began to fall into place. In July 2019, Shofar El Israel's trial for the murder of Morgan began at Reading Crown Court. Israel pled not guilty, which triggered a legal battle that would ultimately reveal more about Morgan's final days. During the trial, the jury learned that Morgan had trusted Israel, seeing him as a father figure. He and his wife had often given Morgan rides to and from church, and she had developed a close relationship with them. The prosecution, however, revealed troubling evidence that painted a much darker picture. Phone records showed that Morgan's phone was detected in Israel's car on December 28, 2018. This suggested that Israel had been trying to find a remote location to dispose of her body. The evidence against Israel grew stronger as the trial progressed. It was revealed that he had spent time alone with Morgan in December 2018, despite church rules against such behavior. This breach of conduct only added to the growing suspicion that Israel had been involved in something far worse than just breaking religious rules. Ultimately, the jury found Israel guilty of murdering Morgan. Judge Sewell condemned Israel's actions, calling them cruel and cowardly. He also criticized Israel's refusal to reveal the location of Morgan's body, which had caused additional pain and distress for her family. Israel was sentenced to life in prison with a minimum term of 17 years. The judge noted that Israel had lied throughout the trial, but only he knew the full truth of what had happened to Morgan. In October 2019, Morgan's remains were found in Woodland, near Stevenage. Investigators had used cell site evidence to track Israel's movements, which placed him in the area shortly after Morgan's disappearance. Her body had been wrapped in plastic and tape and was in an advanced state of decomposition.
She was crying and she said she was going to leave. She said,
leave the church?
Yes. She said that it would be okay for her to come to Crickwood. And I explained to her, look, we're not supposed to be staying together. So we went to Crickwood and she stayed in the living room. She stayed on the couch in the living room. Then the next day I took her back.
Israel had initially claimed he drove Morgan back to her student accommodation, but phone records contradicted his story. Instead, he had taken her to his home in Cricklewood before heading to Stevenage after Boxing Day. Police also found drugs in his car, and there was no evidence to suggest that Morgan had taken them willingly.
She obviously doesn't have access to her flat because you have her keys in your car.
A medical examination of Morgan's remains revealed some minor bruises on her limbs and a possible fracture to her hyoid bone. There were no signs of sexual assault, but it was believed that Morgan had been knocked unconscious or suffocated, possibly with the aid of drugs. The investigation into Morgan's murder brought some answers, but it also left many questions unanswered. Israel's refusal to cooperate with the investigation and his continued silence about what happened in her final moments only deepened the mystery. For Morgan's family, the trial was emotionally devastating, as they had to face the heartbreaking truth that someone they trusted had played a role in her death. While the discovery of Morgan's remains provided some closure, the full truth of her last moments remained elusive. The trial and the events that followed were a painful reminder of the tragedy that had unfolded. But in the end, the legal process brought some justice, even if it couldn't undo the pain that Morgan's family would carry with them forever. Through the investigation and trial, the public learned just how dangerous a person Israel truly was. He had been trusted by those closest to Morgan, yet he had betrayed that trust in the most horrific way imaginable. And though the details of Morgan's death may never be fully understood, her family could take solace in the fact that Israel would never again harm anyone,